Hello everyone, welcome to Vivid Tutorial. In this class, we are going to understand class 10 science chapter number 6, that is life processes. So let's first try to understand what is our agenda in this chapter. What are life processes? Life processes are the important activities performed by living organisms which maintain body function to survive on earth. These life processes are of 8 types, that is movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, excretion, nutrition and transportation. So how did I tell that it's not a miracle? It's easy to remember. Mrs. Grant. S stands for sensitivity, G stands for growth, R stands for reproduction, E stands for excretion, N stands for nutrition and T stands for transportation. So let's begin the story of Mrs. Grant. So if any living organism want to live, then it should be need energy. So how energy is acquired? So energy is acquired by external substances formed as food. But food when we eat it or when we inject is called nutrition. It's called nutrition. So nutrition is the first life process. The nutrition is the process of taking in food and utilizing it to perform various activities called nutrition. This food or a nutrient that we intake needs to be broken down. If it needs to be transported or if it needs to be obtained by cells of our body, so how it is broken down? It is broken down by chemical process called oxidation and reduction. So as a name suggests, oxidation is requires oxygens. How do you get oxygen? We get oxygen by respiration, by breathing. So second life process is respiration. Why do we need to respire? Why do nutrient needs to be broken down? So this nutrient needs to be broken down because we want to growth. And so growth is the third life process. If you want to move, if you want to walk, it needs to be her nutrient, and so movement is required. And so here movement is the fourth life process. Movement. So if this nutrient is broken down, how it is acquired by different tissues? Yes, that is fine. In the multicellular organisms, that is not, another is unicellular organisms. It can be directly obtained by diffusion because it is single cellulars. It has only one cell and it will be directly in contact with the environment, and the gaseous molecule or the food molecules can be directly taken up by these unicellular organisms. But in case of multicellular organisms, since in multicellular organisms it will have a really huge in size or large in the size, it is then you have a many cells and many similar cells make up the tissues, and the specialized tissue are involved in the obtaining the food molecules. Then however this poses a problem since the food and the oxygen are now taken up at the one place in the body of the organisms while all parts of the body need them. This situation creates a need for a transportation system for the carrying food and oxygen from one place to another in the body. So here the fifth life process is the transportation. Fifth life process is the transportation. Here oxygen and foods transport from one place to another place, that is requires a transportation system. So transportation is the fifth life processes. So once these food molecules are broken down by byproduct are produced, so this byproduct, if it remain in your body, what happen? If it remain in the body, the problem it can be toxic to the body. So this byproduct needs to be removed from the body. So how it is removed? It's removed by the excretion. So excretion is the sixth number of life process. Now we'll discuss that is seventh number of life process, that is the reproductions. Reproductions means to reproduce. It is a biological process by which an organism reproduces an offspring which is biologically similar to the organisms. Reproductions enables and ensures the continuity of a species generation after generations. It is the main features of life on earth. Then we will discuss that the eighth number of life processes, that is sensitivity. Living things can sense what is going on around them and are able to respond to it. This is known as sensitivity. Animals have a sense organ such as eyes, nose, ears, etc. that tells them what is going on outside their bodies. These sense organs are connected to the animal's nervous systems, which carry signal to the brains, triggering a response such as a movement. Plant like that also situation create. Plants who are sensitive to their surroundings, they have the shoots growing upward and the roots growing downwards due to the presence of the sensitive. And okay, sensitive is the eighth number of life processes. Here then we will already discuss the eight number of life processes, which is very essentials, very important for the life. Then so let's discuss some question. Why is diffusion insufficient to meet oxygen requirement of multicellular organism like humans? Multicellular organisms like humans have the very big body, then now discuss that, require a lot of energy to diffuse into the body quickly in order to meet oxygen requirement. That is a human body is very large, then require the lot of energy, then also quick requires, immediate requires, but the diffusion is a slow process. It take a lot of time. It is circulate time to circulate oxygen to all the body, because the slow nature diffusions is insufficient to meet oxygen's requirement of a multicellular organisms. Multicellular very large, require the large amount of oxygen requires, but in a diffusion process, that is slow process, that also cannot be possible in the multicellular organisms. Due to these reasons, diffusion is insufficient to meet the oxygen requirement of a multicellular organism like human beings. And then next questions. What criteria do we use to decide whether the something is alive? When you can say that something is alive, which criteria is requires? Walking, breathing, growth, and other visible changes can be used to determine whether something is alive or dead. But some living things will have the changes that are not visible to our eyes. Hence, the presence of life processes is a fundamental criteria to decide whether the something is alive. And fundamental criteria means that the nutritions, respirations, etc., excretions, transportations, so that things means if that like means eight life processes we are already discussed, that things we can decide that the fundamental criteria of the life processes decided something is alive or dead. The next questions. What are the outside raw materials used for an organisms? And we are now discussed already. Then outside raw materials is used by organisms for food and oxygens. Raw materials requirement varies on the complexity of the organism and environment it is living. And here, what are the outside raw materials? Food and oxygens is required for by an organisms. Then next questions. What processes would you consider essential for maintaining life? Which processes would you consider essential for maintaining life? Then we are already known that life processes such as respirations, digestions, excretions, circulations, and transportations. Okay, and transportation are essential for maintain life. Okay, then you can remember that what processes would you consider essential for maintaining life processes such as respiration, digestion, excretion, circulation, transportation, etc. are very essential for maintain life.